That's the stuff right there. Try and push it out the way. See if we get a look at the middle. Perfect. So what I have here is apple pie filling that I made earlier. So I put it in the silicone mold, then I freezed it for about 4 hours. Now I'm gonna add a layer of caramel and a crunchy layer on top. Then I'm gonna get it back in the freezer. Then we're gonna make the honey and orange caramel mousse. And we're gonna insert this. Anyway, we're gonna pour the caramel over the apples. We're gonna get it into the freezer and let it set. We'll let it set for about 4 hours. Alright, nice thin drizzle all over the apples. Next we're gonna make the crunchy filling. So I got some cornflakes, some baked off and crushed puff pastry, some coconut flakes, and some milk chocolate. I'm gonna mix this until it's combined together. I'm gonna lay it flat on a silicone mat. You get it in the refrigerator to set, then we're gonna cut it. I'm just looking to coat all these with chocolate basically. And once the chocolate cools, obviously it's going to crystallize and everything's going to come together. Even surface. Kind of just evenly spread it around. You know. I want to have, decent amount of surface area, so I want to get it as wide as possible. That way it could fit right into the apples and the caramel. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. Now that the caramel is set, now that the crunchy layer is set rather, I'm going to add it to the caramel and the apples, and we're going to get this bad boy back in the freezer. Alright, just kind of firmly press that down into there, into the caramel. Make sure it gets in there. You can hear how crunchy it is. This adds another layer of flavor and texture to the cake. Now while the crunch is setting up in the freezer, we're going to make a light brown honey mousse. We're going to start by soaking off some gelatin in an ice bath. We're going to let that bloom and set it aside while it's blooming. We're going to bring the cream with probably say about half a peel of an orange. We're going to bring that to a light simmer on medium heat for about 5 minutes. Then we'll let it infuse for 30 minutes at room temperature. In the meantime, while we wait for the cream to infuse, we're going to whip some heavy cream. We're going to whip it to stiff to semi-stiff peaks, and then we're going to put it in the refrigerator until we need it. Now that we have good stiff peaks on the whipped cream, we're going to refrigerate. Remove the cream from the heat. Once it starts to simmer, then you want to let it stand at room temperature for about 30 minutes, like I said earlier. This is just to get that strong orange flavor into the cream. Once the gelatin's ready, just squeeze out the excess water and set aside till you need it. Once we let the orange infuse into the cream for about a half hour, we're going to heat it up for about 2 to 5 minutes just to, bring it back to temperature. Then we're going to temper it into the egg yolks and bring it back onto the stovetop and cook it down to make an glaze. You want to gently stir it, make sure it's not coating the bottom, especially if you're making a portion this small. It's so easy to burn it at this point because it's pretty thick. Alright, we're just looking to, heat it up, literally. Just a little bit. Alright, it's almost there. And the reason we're doing that way we could start partially cooking the eggs. You never want to serve raw eggs in your cream. Very slowly tamper the cream into the egg yolks. That way we don't cook them. Alright, we're not trying to make scrambled eggs. So you want to go real slow, nice steady stream. Get it all in there. You want to constantly mix while you drizzle it in. Perfect. Once that's done, we're going to dump it right back into the same pot and cook it while we constantly stir with a spatula and not a whisk, because if you whisk it, you end up with scrambled eggs. All right, now we're gonna cook the eggs and cream mixture on medium to low heat for about 3 to 5 minutes until we get an internal temperature of 185, like I mentioned earlier. Then once that's done, we'll add the gelatin, whisk that in, and we'll pour it over the honey and mix that together. Alright, now we're going to dump the unglazed mix that we just made over the honey. I'm going to mix that real good. It should help give us a nice creamy texture to our mousse. It's going to have a nice rich honey flavor with a hint of orange, which is delicious. It pairs well with apples and caramel. Alright. We have the perfect consistency. We're going to add the heavy cream. Rather the whipped cream. Alright, grabbed it from the refrigerator and I just dump it all in one shot. Alright, next we're going to whisk this together, make sure everything is nicely incorporated, then we'll refrigerate. Alright, gently use your whisk, rotate it around the honey gently, making sure you're doing kind of like a 360. So it's the kind of motion I'm going for when I'm in there. It's not straight whisking. That way I don't put too much air in my mousse. It stays nice and creamy. As you can see, it's not liquidy at all. It has a nice thick rich creamy consistency to it. That's what you're looking for every time you're making a mousse. I'm sorry, I was Next we're going to start setting up the mise en place to start the assembly for the cake. I have a sponge cake right here that I baked off earlier. It's nice and cool right now. I'm going to cut it out. I'll link a sponge cake recipe in the description below. So I'm going to use this cutout right here. I'm measuring based on the size of the silicone mold that I'm going to use. Alright, I'm going to cut right around here. Alright, that way in case I still need to use a center for like a sheet cake or something, I can still be able to use it. Alright, this is the cake we're going to use right there. Alright, that's our sponge cake. I'm going to place it on a plate and set it aside until we need it. Spread a little bit of the cream onto the walls of the silicone mat. Alright. This will help eliminate any kind of air bubbles that might appear in between the layers. Alright. Perfect. Now we're going to add the crunchy layer. Alright. Now I'm going to make sure we pipe some cream around the border. Really emphasize the structure of the cake basically. Alright, kind of push it around. Perfect. Now we add the last layer of cream and next we're going to add the last layer, which is the sponge cake that we cut up earlier. We're going to gently insert it and press it, making sure the cream spews out on the sides. Again, it's all about the structure, maintaining the structure of the cake. Proper layering. So push it in, perfect. Alright, that's perfectly centered. I'm going to scrape off the excess cream gently. Alright. Then we're going to freeze this bad boy for at least 12 hours. See you guys tomorrow. Alright, now next we're going to make the glaze for the cake. It's going to be a simple cocoa butter glaze. It's just white chocolate and cocoa butter. It's ratio of 65 to 35%. Say if I had 100 grams total, I would have 65 grams of white chocolate and 35 grams of cocoa butter. We're going to melt them separately, excuse me. We're going to mix them together using an emulsion blender. Let's do it. Now, I got a pot of boiling water, and I'm going to turn off the heat and just let the white chocolate sit on here until it melts. You want to make sure you stir every so often just to prevent it from burning, but this is a pretty solid method of melting white chocolate. Say if you're doing like a bunch of different things, you can just put it on here and go about your business and come back and check it every so often. Alright, there we go. It's almost there. We just want to have it completely melted. So just a little longer, maybe a minute or two. That should do it. Now we're melting off the cocoa butter. You could get this on Amazon for like 10 bucks for 2 pounds, which is what I paid for this. It's super, super amazing. It helps make great coatings for cakes, desserts, even chocolates if you're into that kind of stuff. So now that the cocoa butter is completely melted, we're going to combine it into the white chocolate. So we're going to mix it and add the amount of food coloring we want. Alright, I'm literally just going to pour the cocoa butter directly into the hot chocolate. I almost burnt the shit out of my hands. The bowl's still pretty hot, so just be careful for that. Alrighty. Next, we're going to whisk this until it's combined. I'm going to make sure it's nice and fluid. Then we're going to blend it with the food coloring. And we should be on our way. Now, before I forget, I'm going to be spraying the cake using a chocolate spray gun. But I assume most of you guys do not have a spray gun or are probably not even willing to invest the money on a spray gun. I totally get it. They're pretty expensive. So my advice to you would be you could just wait for the cake to freeze completely solid and just wait for this glaze to cool down to 97 degrees Fahrenheit. You should be able to pour it over the cake and get a nice, beautiful chocolatey effect. It won't look as good as, you know, the chocolate spray gun, but it gets the job done. Alright. Alright, now we're going to cut through the middle. Not going to kill the bee. It's chocolate, by the way. I'll drop a video explaining how to make chocolate decor. It takes a little bit. It doesn't take a while, but like, chocolate is expensive. And that video is probably going to be like 30 minutes long. So I need to drop in like 3 parts. And the way YouTube is set up, you can only drop, 10-minute and under videos if, you don't have 1,000 subscribers. So I promise as soon as we hit 1,000, I'm going to drop 3 videos of how I make chocolate decorations. Alright, this is chocolate too. So without further ado, let me just cut through it. Oh yeah, that's the stuff right there. Alright. Try and push it out the way. See if we can get a look at the middle. Perfect. It layered perfectly. So we got cream, apples, caramel, a crunchy filling, and cake. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next Sunday. Peace and love, everybody.